You gotta just chill out, man.
Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is Steel Curtain Network editor Dave Scofield coming at you. It's Sunday night, just after 8 o'clock. Where else would you rather be, Steelers fans? And with me, as always, except when he's not, even when it is Sunday at 8 o'clock, is my big brother Rich. Rich, how's it going tonight?
It's going. It's going.
Yeah. We're not breathing.
We're not breathing. Little. I'm not in panic mode, but I am concerned for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I got you. Sorry, I've got a candy cane in my mouth, and I keep getting it caught on my tongue. I'm trying to finish it. You know why?
Hit the mute button and crunch that thing.
Yeah. It's simple. If you can't enjoy this time of year, even though the Steelers have lost the last two games, you've got to find joy somewhere else. So, for everyone who's wondering, Rich, why are we here tonight?
Man, but look, everything is all messed up. It is just all messed up.
Exactly.
Between the Steelers' schedule and it being a holiday week, it is just all messed up. So
yes.
We figured, why not? If it's going to be messed up, just go with the flow.
Yeah. So bottom line was this. We weren't going to get to do the show on Tuesday night. Tuesday night's Christmas Eve. We weren't doing a show at 9 o'clock on Christmas Eve. We weren't doing it. I would not want any of you to be here if we were doing that. That's one. So then, you do it a little bit earlier Tuesday. But you also need to fit in a preview. So we're like, hey, we'll let the preview have Tuesday before the game. We'll do that. I have to do the show regardless whether I'm looking at you or whether I'm looking at Jeff or Brian. So then we're like, well, let's got to bump some things around. Well, we shouldn't have. It didn't make sense to move the hangover guys up a day for us to be between them and the preview. It just didn't make sense. So we're like, hey, Rich, can you do Sunday? Sure. We'll jump to Sunday. Let Shannon and Daniel do their thing that they typically do on Monday. You will have the preview. I think I said preview before. I meant hangover. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm so confused. It's this short week. So you'll get a Steelers preview around lunchtime on Christmas Eve. I'm just telling you that's about when we're going to be going. Then you'll get a post-game show after the game on Christmas. Might not be the full crew. And then after that, we're not sure. We might have a special Pump Your Brakes coming on a different night on Thursday. They still got to let us know if they can do that or not. If not, we'll have something else. It's just all messed up. It's the holiday messes it up enough. And then the NFL has to royally mess it up. So the title of the show is, are the Steelers ready for the holiday rush? This is the holiday rush, and not just because of the holiday, but because of the massive rush that they have to go through to be ready to play another game. Rich, I knew this was awful when the rumor came out before they even announced the schedule that the Steelers were one of the teams that were going to be playing on Christmas. I thought it was terrible then. I thought it was just as terrible when it was announced. I haven't really changed on it. How do you feel about the Steelers playing Wednesday at 1 o'clock? Yeah.
I told you.
Yeah.
Why would I like Wednesday football? You already know that I hate Thursday football.
Yeah.
Except on Thanksgiving. So no way am I in favor of this at all. It's dumb. It's stupid. And you know what? The NFL needs to be careful. Who did I hear say this? I heard it on the radio or somewhere recently that somebody was talking about, and they were worried that the NFL could eventually work themselves into a thing like NASCAR. Okay? NASCAR for a long time was huge, and then they just started fiddling with everything, and they've messed it all up. And I don't even watch NASCAR anymore, and I used to be really into it. The NFL better be careful.
Work in a NASCAR store.
NFL better be careful because it's getting that way too. Ask me how much football I watched today.
How much football did you watch today?
None.
Really?
I didn't watch any football today. Now, I kept an
I
eye
was
here.
getting stuff done. I had Red Zone on while I was getting stuff done.
Kept an eye here and there on my phone. Mm-hmm. So, hey, going back-to-back weeks. Axel, it's his birthday.
Yeah.
Axel Harvey, our cousin, Raptor.
Yeah.
The Raptor and his dad were in Charlotte today and went to the Panthers game.
Yeah, because they live close to Charlotte,
so
they went to a game, so they went to a close game.
Yep, for the Raptors' birthday, so they went to a football game, and boy, did they get a good one.
Yeah, that was good. But Rich, you didn't watch Kenny Pickett?
No, I didn't like watch Kenny Pickett when he's in Pittsburgh. Why would I watch him when he's in Philadelphia?
And it's funny that I will tell you this. I don't think the Eagles lose that game with Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying Kenny Pickett did bad. Yeah, I know he threw at least one pick. I didn't even look at the stat line and everything. I just think it's really funny that they ended up losing that game when Kenny Pickett came in. Honestly, I think the Eagles had we took it to the Steelers letdown a little bit. I don't know, but we're not here to talk about that stuff.
I don't know. They were up big in that game.
They were.
And
they were up a lot.
I think what it was is they were like, oh, hey, it's almost Christmas. Look, we got this big lead. And they took their foot off the pedal and they lost. Ha-ha. Take that.
Yeah. So this is very interesting.
Hold on. Since we're talking about that, let me bring this up. So here's how the NFL works, right? Steelers go to Washington and beat Commanders.
Yep.
Steelers go to Philadelphia, lose to Eagles. Mm-hmm. Eagles go to Washington, lose to Commanders.
Yeah.
That's the NFL for you.
Well, earlier this season, the Commanders went to Philadelphia and lost to Philadelphia, but that's because they played each other twice. But these are the most recent games. Yeah, you're exactly right. It's kind of how things work. It is any given Sunday. It does show you that injuries affect things. It goes to show you that a number of things can affect things. And I'm not here to make excuses for the Steelers. We're going to break down. We're going to do what we normally do. We're going to focus on the game the Steelers played. It's just crazy to me that we are in so much of the holiday rush for this, that today my goodness, the Steelers game finished just over 24 hours ago, right? It was like this finished up around 7:30-ish p.m. or something like that. 7:30.
Yeah, 7:30, 7:45.
Yeah, so we're not even 25 hours past the end of the game. And since then, I have had a post-game press conference. I didn't do the podcast. Brian did that one. A post-game show. The podcast I did of a Mike Tomlin press conference today at noon, and had to do an injury report already. And we're just 24 hours from the end of the game. This is the absurdity. And the thing is, do I like the Steelers playing on Christmas Day? Not really. I don't like it at 1 o'clock. Like, I could enjoy my Christmas a lot more if they would have been playing at 4:30 or even 8. That would have been a little bit nicer. This one, I got to, get through some stuff a little bit faster.
Got to tweak my Christmas Day for this one.
Yes, I've got to move things around with my Christmas Day because of this game.
Instead of Christmas lunch, we're having Christmas dinner.
Yeah, same here. I'm doing Christmas dinner rather than Christmas lunch because of the Steelers game. But the thing that bothers me more than anything isn't Christmas. It's Wednesday. Wednesday football was just, and early on a Wednesday. Like, I don't even know when the Steelers have to have their final roster moves because this is so unprecedented. When do they have to make their final roster moves? Normally, your final roster moves are at 4 p.m. the day before the game, unless you're a special game of either Thursday or Monday where you're playing in primetime where it's 4 p.m. that day. Well, they can't be 4 p.m. Wednesday because they play at 1. And if you're talking 4 p.m. Tuesday, they have to do their roster moves and their last injury report on the same day. It's just crazy. It's so forced. It's forced.
No, forced. But why is it forced? Because it's a money grab by the NFL, who doesn't need the money.
No.
Ugh.
No, it's just, it's just, ugh. So we've kind of put our whole thing about the holiday rush. It is what it is. Rich, that was a pretty disappointing game yesterday, but I said it on the post-game show, and I just woke up Saturday morning and I'm like, I don't have a good feeling about this game. When I woke up, when they played the Ravens the first time, when I had to get up early and head to Pittsburgh, I had a pretty good feeling about that game. I did. I'm like, common sense tells me I should pick the Ravens, but I'm picking the Steelers the first time they played. I'm going to be there, and I've got a good feeling. This one, I'm like, I don't have that great of a feeling, but I'm going to pick the Steelers anyway because it's the Ravens. And then I woke up that morning, I'm like, I'm not feeling it. I was talking with Jeff Hartman today. Some of it was we were messaging, and we actually saw each other in person at our Christmas tree today to check that out, and various things. And Jeff is like, the Steelers just have such a razor thin margin of error. I'm like, that's been true of the Steelers for a while, but it's different this time. They have a razor thin margin of error against the top teams of the NFL.
Right.
They have more room for error against the middle of the road,
the middle of the road, and the lower.
NFL.
Yes, that's funny.
So
I was thinking that same thing.
But to me, that's what separates you from being the top of the NFL or not. The thing is not just because there are teams that they are maybe not this year. Maybe sometimes I would even go to say Detroit for a while. I don't know. They've had a lot of injuries. We'll just have to see. But there's teams in years past at times that they are so good that they even have some margin of error against the other best teams in the NFL. That they can still have some margin of error in there and win games. That's not the Steelers. The question is, can they keep that razor thin margin? Can they force enough takeaways and things of that nature in order to win? So you have to admit that we knew this was a tough stretch for the Steelers. The fact that the Eagles lost today to the Commanders, to me, doesn't change anything. That's just one of those, like I said, a whole letdown thing. They lost their quarterback in game. You didn't know, they were kind of up against it. With that, was surprised they gave up as many points as they did. But
now, hold on. So
they're still one of the best teams in the NFL.
Been watching the live chat, and there's been some Kenny Pickett talk going on in there. Just to bring this up, because I looked this up after the game. So Kenny Pickett then played almost the entire game, honestly.
He played at least 3/4 of it. I know that.
He was in the first quarter.
Yeah, I was going to say,
it
that's
was
like,
at least it was like the Eagles' second drive or something.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
He ends up in. Ready? So
Howard.
Kenny Pickett then in the game goes 14 of 24, 143 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. You know what you got?
Sounds like a Kenny Pickett game, doesn't it?
It sounds exactly like Kenny Pickett. I mean, that was basically the stats that he would give the Steelers. And what would happen with that? Small margin of error, just try not to kill us, hold on and win at the end. And the Eagles didn't hold on and win at the end. So,
no, they, and number one defense in the NFL when they gave up the touchdown to lose.
Yeah.
So that was
now,
crazy.
We're
not here to talk about that.
To the Steelers.
I would just mention the Eagles because even without that, especially when the Steelers played them, you got to understand. Teams can change from week to week based on who's available, big time. I'm sorry, but if the Kansas City Chiefs don't have Patrick Mahomes, they are not the best team in the NFL, in my opinion. Now, I'm saying it for 2 straight years now. That team has not been centered on what most people think they are, that they're this dynamic offense. They're not. You realize the Chiefs have only hit 30 points twice this season, and they've only hit 30. They have not gone over 30 this season. So that's just what. So you can talk about, that's a, you lost to the Chiefs. Well, if the Chiefs had Mahomes, now let's say something happened to him, and you're like, oh man, the Chiefs just aren't what they were. But when you played them, they were the best that the league had to offer. So it really does come into timing of these kind of things. I'm sorry, the Eagles were the best team in the NFL when the Steelers played them. The Ravens, they are getting on a roll, unfortunately. They got bailed out with a really nice schedule of a late bye, which for some reason it seems like the Steelers can't ever get a late bye. I'm like, do they ask for one earlier? Because if they do, that's foolish, because late buys have really paid off for people in the past. Now, the Steelers are going to be getting an extremely late mini bye, which we might not talk about it much this show because of everything coming up, but I will definitely talk about it next week. That could be huge for the Steelers with the way this all plays out.
Yes,
but the Steelers, Eagles were playing longest win streak in the NFL when they were playing them. Baltimore, team of the right. People are like, oh, but Baltimore's defense. I saw someone make a comment about Baltimore having a bad defense. No, since they had their mini bye against after they played the who are they? The other stupid Ohio team, the one the Steelers started to play. Bengals. Thank you. No one that told me what it was. Since they played the Bengals, had that mini bye, then played the Steelers. Their defense has been one of the best in the NFL.
Yeah, it's like since week 6, it was when they moved Hamilton around a little bit that it shored up their secondary. And their secondary had kind of been the problem. So.
Yes. I mean, I talked about it before going into this past game. If you looked at every team's last 4 games, some of them you had to, because of the bye week in there, you had to move it a little bit. The Ravens were the second best pass defense over the last 4 games. That's their trend. They had made the flip. Their run defense was still top 10, but just 10, even though they're towards the top of the NFL. The trend was that they had fixed their pass defense. So do you really care about how well they were playing in week 6? Or do you really want to look at how they've been doing lately?
That's right.
And unfortunately, and Mark Tobin's right. He said Hamilton went back to deep safety. I don't know. Yes. Everybody loves some Kyle Hamilton, but remember, going into this game, him and Minkah Fitzpatrick had the same number of interceptions. 0. Yet Minkah's awful because he didn't have any, and Kyle Hamilton is this great player who just doesn't get interceptions. And I know part of that's because we've seen that from Minkah before, so you know it. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But after I digest this game and not thinking that the sky is falling, and I know we might not have all of our same regulars in here because we're not on a Tuesday night. We might have some others. But I notice a lot of the regulars that we have in this show, in the live chat, often are not part of the live chat in a post-game show, especially when the Steelers have lost. Because that's when the crazy overreactors come out. The Russell Wilson has been terrible for forever. This team will never, they're one and done in the playoffs. I'm like, you do realize they have 2 more games before they even get there. And a lot can change in 2 games for good or bad. But they've, totally overreaction, knee-jerk reaction. I get it that you're frustrated, but you still got to try to bring some, as we talk about on Pittsburgh Standard Time, some reasonable expectations, some reasonable level-headedness. And now this is the good thing about us being 24 hours later. It's still fresh. But I look back at this game and I'm like, this is probably the best I've seen the Ravens play against the Steelers in a very long time. This was the most penalized team in the NFL coming into the week, averaging 8.5 penalties for like 71, 72 yards a game. And they had 2 penalties for 10 yards. Now, they had a third one that would have been another 10 yards, but the Steelers declined it, and it worked out well when they did that. They had 2 false starts. That's it. They didn't have a single defensive penalty. They had 1 turnover. That's it.
Yeah.
If you want to look at it from the other side, they played one of their best games of the season. And the Steelers had an opportunity to take the lead early.
Oh, that's the part that kills me.
And the defenders, stripped the ball. The Steelers tied it with 20 minutes to go. And once again, for the second straight week, crapped the bed over the last 20 minutes.
Yep.
They hadn't been a last 20 minutes bad team, except for the last 2 weeks. You take the last 2 weeks, and it's the last 20 minutes of the game is what made it from a tie game, you're right in their game for both weeks, into this game is a blowout and out of reach game. It was all over the last 20 minutes. And Coach Tom, I know I'm kind of going off of the soapbox. I'm going to give you lots of time to talk. But Coach Tomlin said something at the very beginning of his press conference today, which was exactly what I was saying after the game. It was a complete lack of complementary football. Complete lack of complementary football. When the offense does something, when the offense is down, the defense has to step up and bail them out and step up to the plate. When the defense sets you up by getting that big takeaway, you've got to step up and put points on the board from that, even if you have to go the length of the field.
Oh, they put points on the board just for the wrong team.
Just for the wrong team. Because look at it. That's exactly what the Ravens did. They still had to go 96 yards. But that offense is like, hey, if the defense is going to stop them and not let them score there, we're going to respond and take it all the way down and score. And they did.
Yes. They
played complementary football. The Steelers played the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark Tobin says that was a face mask on Warren, but they swapped. Actually, it wasn't. He did not grab his face mask.
Yeah,
his forearm was across his face mask, and it turned his head, but he did not grab the face mask. That actually wasn't one.
Yeah.
If you can go back and look at it.
Yeah, the fingers have to go into the face mask. Or the ever famous, even if your fist closed, your fingers don't go in, you can't push up from the bottom of the face mask. That's your hands to the face.
Yes.
Thing. But that was one
like it live, but when you slowed it down, you saw that it wasn't.
That was one where they didn't throw the flag, and you go back and you look and you look and you look and you can actually look at it and say, okay, maybe they were right not to throw the flag. Had the officials thrown a flag, it would have been difficult to argue against it, where everybody would have said, oh, look, it turned his head. That's why they threw it.
Exactly. Exactly. No, Mark, his fingers did not hook. You can go back and look at it. It didn't happen.
Go look.
It didn't happen.
I looked and looked and looked.
I looked and looked and looked as well. And no, it didn't happen. So, but it's just one of those things. And you know what? I have to say this, Rich, because I was talking with someone today, actually at church this morning, a Ravens fan, little old lady. Her son used to be the pastor of our church. She's a big Ravens fan. She talks to me all the time. Doesn't talk smack. She talks so nice. She talks about how much she wants the Steelers to beat the Chiefs because she really hates the Chiefs. But I said to her, I was really happy that it didn't seem like the officiating had any outcome in this game.
No,
this was actually one of the better officiated games.
I thought so as well, even though there weren't a lot of penalties called, but to me, there wasn't a lot of egregious stuff going on, Honestly, I thought it was what you sometimes see from Steelers Ravens, which is not a lot of penalties.
Yeah.
You do get those games between these two teams where it's just line
very handsy and grabby on defense, and
but no, it was not overly.
It go both ways. So
it was not overly handsy or grabby on defense.
It wasn't.
It was
usually
not.
It is.
Yeah, it was played pretty clean.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out there and say the officiating was perfect because it wasn't, but it was a lot better than what I saw in the earlier.
It's one of the few times this season we haven't needed to talk about
that. Better officiating what I saw in the earlier game that day, but
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
which is what I'm ready to expect on Wednesday. So
we'll get to. Oh, trust me, we're going to get to Wednesday. We're going to get to Wednesday because I have a few things about that. I even talked about it during the Tomlin press conference, when it probably wasn't the time to do it, but I did anyway because it's just one of those things. Like I said, the Chiefs have a chance to royally say, "Screw you, NFL." I hope it if they do, but I don't know that they will. We'll get to that eventually. Hey, how about something we should get to is we've got a super chat. We've got a $20 super chat. Tyler
Merry
W.
Christmas.
Thank you so much for supporting the show. Tyler, he's done the Scho Bro Road Show with us even. At a game. He says, Merry Christmas, Scho Bros, and Happy New Year. Same to the group chat too. Wanted to give credit to Dave. First thing Mike Tomlin said today in his press conference was the lack of complementary football. Dave said it 12 hours earlier. I think Tyler commented on it when I posted it on X. when I had said that. I'm like, they are not playing complimentary football. And so Tyler, thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you too, buddy. Would love to see you at a game again sometime. So speaking of game of some time, I don't know that I can. It depends on what day it is. I technically have my tickets to go to the last home game of the season, but I don't know if I can. So that might be another thing that we talk about next week on the show.
I'm going.
I know you're going because someone's got to do knee jerk. So maybe I have to.
Kyle's off on break. He can do knee jerk.
Oh, that's right. Kyle's not going with you.
Kyle's not going with me, and he's home on break.
Well, honestly, the reason I didn't want to go to that game is because I was holding out to go to one the next week.
Well, maybe that will become a little more clear.
I will know a lot more about that come Wednesday because the Steelers still control their own destiny when it comes to the AFC North title. Now, it's not before I had said it's basically. The magic number was 2. If the Steelers beat the Ravens, that meant the Ravens lost. That was the 2 they wanted. This week, the Steelers could win and the Ravens could lose, and the Steelers still wouldn't wrap up the North. Some people are confused by this, so I'm going to give you a quick rundown of this because this is all based on because of what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
Because the first tiebreaker to win the division after overall record is division record. Okay. Right now, the Steelers and Ravens. Well, first of all, it's head-to-head. They're tied, so we don't have to worry about that. So head-to-head, they're tied. Then, division record. Well, they have the same division record right now. And then it goes to conference record, which I'm pretty sure that's where the Steelers have the advantage. So if the Steelers and Ravens end up with the same record, it could be, that chance. If the Steelers would win and then lose, and the Ravens would lose and then win, they would both have the same record, but the Ravens would have a better AFC North record because they would have beat the Browns and the Steelers would have lost to the Bengals. So this week's important to win, but then the next week's even more important because that goes to the division record as well. So that's how all of that is going on. So it is what it is. So it's not. So this week it can't be wrapped up, because there's still the whole idea of the division record. A pretty big game for the Steelers on Wednesday. There's a big game on Saturday between the Broncos and Bengals because pretty much whoever wins that game is going to have the driver's seat to go to the playoffs.
Yeah. But
then again, the Bengals would have to then beat the Steelers. If the Broncos beat the Bengals, wow, that's some crazy alliteration there. The Bengals might be done. But that's for later down the road. Rich, in this game, the Steelers did not play perfect. I'm going to ask you overall, Russell Wilson. He had the fumble. He had the bad interception. And you can't take away those plays when talking about his overall performance. But my question is, how did you feel about his performance other than those plays?
All right. Look, I don't know many QBs out there that are going to make every play in every game. They just don't do it. Okay. The things I think for Russ was there were really 3 plays that I looked at that were really negative impact on the Steelers, and part of the reason then that they just stick out because of when they were. We talk about, like the Najee Harris fumble last week, right? The guy doesn't normally fumble, but boy, you talk about a bad time to fumble. Like we used to talk about with Juju, with his fumbling.
Yes.
He'd fumbled twice.
We talked about that.
They were both just really two bad timing fumbles. Russ's fumble was horrible timing. Okay. He's running, and as he gets inside the 10, I'm actually yelling, slide, slide, slide.
Same.
Okay.
Not to interrupt you too much, but like I said, the biggest reason I wanted him to slide is there's no Justin Fields.
I know.
I didn't want him to get hurt.
Yep.
I didn't even, that was concern number one, not holding on to the football.
Now, I don't know if Russ even realizes this, and they probably won't even get the chance to look at this on the film this week because of how quick the turnaround is. You know what Russell Wilson's biggest mistake is when he decided not to slide?
Okay.
He
I'm ready for it.
juked and went back to the inside.
Yeah.
That
He
exposed
probably
the
could have made it
football.
to the corner.
That no, it's not even about if he made it to the corner. If you're going to get hit, he juked and went to the side where he was going, where the football was exposed. If he goes the other direction, he takes that hit. The football is not exposed.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Yep.
Okay. The interception was just bad,
Yeah.
and he knew it when he let go of the ball.
Yeah.
Okay. That one, horrible, 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 horrible throw, just horrible play. He knew it right away before he even hit the ground. That doesn't necessarily forgive it, but a play like that's going to happen here and there.
Yeah.
The other one, though, that I was a little more upset with was the fourth down throw.
He had him if he threw it sooner.
Correct. He held the ball too long and tried to throw the ball to the end zone instead of getting the ball to his receiver earlier when he was open and let the receiver do the rest of the work.
Yes. Yes. I agree. Here, I want to bring up this before we go too far. And this was Ralph High says, if Russ ran it in, would we be saying he should have slid instead? No, but
No.
he didn't. Because if he could have made it in, he was right to not slide. But he wasn't going to make it. Obviously, because he didn't. It's so funny because I was thinking the exact same thing when I was watching. I wasn't watching the game. I was watching Red Zone, and it was Arizona in Carolina, and it was Kyler Murray running towards the end zone and towards the corner, and I'm like, do you slide or do you go for the touchdown? And he went for the touchdown and got it. So that was the biggest thing. If he would have seen that defender, he should have thought, I've done well enough. We're going to get 3 shots from inside the 5.
Right. And like I said, and it looked like he tried to give an old man juke move.
Yeah.
And cut to the inside, which then exposed the football.
Yeah.
Okay. 26-year-old Russell Wilson scores that touchdown.
Probably, yeah.
36-year-old Russell Wilson does not.
Yeah.
That's simple.
And Jamie is right, says, live to play another day is how he should have thought at his age.
Another play. Live to play another play.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know.
But how many times does he do that and just get tackled and not lose the football?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it was like one of these crazy things that it's just. You run that same play with him running wide open there, and you run it 10 more times, and I'd be surprised if he fumbled it another time.
Yeah.
You know, it's just.
Now,
but that's the thing. The Ravens were playing that good, and they complimented it and scored the touchdown.
Look,
and yet the Steelers still tied it in the third quarter with 20 minutes to go.
Look,
Other
things I looked at that game is, first of all, you know, the long 40-yard pass to Calvin Austin III. Beautiful throw, beautiful catch.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, so who was in there? Jamie Carlo said Fields would have been in the end zone. Yes.
Fields probably wouldn't have been that close to the end zone on that play. Well, and honestly, no. The field would not have opened up for him to run if it was Fields on the field. They would have had someone there.
Yes.
Ready for him.
Perhaps.
So it's
perhaps. But
yeah, I understand.
I even look at it this way.
Similar scenario, it would have been there, but the scenario would have probably never got there.
Yes, Fields might make that play, but Fields doesn't make that throw to Calvin Austin III or a couple of the other throws that were made in the game. So it's still one of those, kind of hindsight is 2020 kind of things. It's like looking back, you can critique, but in the end, it is what it is.
Yeah.
The Steelers. I liked what you said about the complimentary football because I was thinking it most of the game. The offense had a letdown there, and the defense came out, and instead of saying, okay, let's buckle down and get the ball back, because the offense was actually moving the ball, they let them go 96 yards and score a touchdown.
Yes.
Then the offense turns around later and gets the Minka Fitzpatrick interceptions and gives up the pick six. It's just like, really? Are you kidding me? To me, here's the worst part, okay, of the past 2 weeks. The worst part of the past 2 weeks are the Steelers were this close to winning both of those games.
And lost by double digits.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And honest, you know what? Let's take a break. I've got a couple things I got to bring up there.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and take a break now. If you're with us here live, we're not going anywhere through this on the audio side. Stick around. We'll be right back after this.
Relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, don't worry, relax. Relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, relax.
All right, Rich, you ready to relax and don't worry? I like with Steelers fans earlier this season, 2 losses in a row, you get really worried. The problem this time is now they're going up against the 2-time Super Bowl champions on a very short week. But hey, at least it's at home. We'll get to that soon enough. But a couple things I want to bring up. There was a number of people in the live chat after the game, and I already talked about how we had some crazies in there with stuff that were saying this loss is totally at the feet of Russell Wilson. I don't see it.
No.
Did he have 2 really bad plays in there that really hurt the Steelers? Yes, he did. Did he have plenty of other good plays that still put the Steelers in where that scored points and put them in position to score points? Yes, he did. You can't look at both of them independently. That's one to start. That's one. To me, the bigger issue
Russell Wilson was not my biggest concern for the Steelers in that game.
My biggest concern is the defense.
Yep, so is mine.
Because they're the ones who are supposed to be leading the way for this team. People want to complain about the high priced defense. Well, the reason your defense is so high priced is because other than rookie contracts and vet minimums, the only players you are paying are Pat Freiermuth and Isaac Seumalo. That's it. Unless you want to count James Daniels, but he's on IR. You're not paying anybody because of where they are with their contract. Oh, sorry. Technically, Justin Fields not either. He's just on the fourth. Well, he is on a rookie contract. What am I saying? They are all rookie contracts or basically league minimums, including Russell Wilson.
Yep.
The only people that aren't are those 2 guys that are actually contributing anything. So, of course, in a salary cap league, you're going to be paying more players on the defense. And yes, those players are now getting are closer to the end than to the beginning of their careers. So, for a lot of them. But look at how many guys they have their defense that are on rookie deals. JPJ, Keanu Benton, Beanie Bishop. Corey Trice, who had to fill in a lot, but I wouldn't call him a starter. That's it. I mean, that's the comparison. That's the contrast. That's why it's where you are. And you know what? Someday it's going to go the other direction because they're off balanced with their timing with these things. And everyone's going to be like, why aren't you getting more points from the highest paid offense in the NFL? Something of that nature. So it is what it is. But to me, I'm saying the defense is supposed to be leading the way here, and they have just been letting up too much. I mean, once again, it was a key 3rd and 5 later in the game, and they gave up like a 20-some yard pass. I'm like, 3rd and 5, chance to get off the field, and they didn't. And the only time the Steelers forced a punt in the second half for the Eagles was the first drive when Joey Porter Jr. was out there. I still, even Brian Baldwin is like, oh, the problems in the secondary didn't affect how much Derrick Henry was running. No. To me, it took away being able to allot fewer guys to the secondary and say, just win. We've got guys that can handle these guys. Go out there and win without help so we can put the help up front. They couldn't. They had to help the guys in the secondary. You were down 3 of your 4 starters. And if you want to count Nick as a starter, then it's, oh, yeah, he's there, but he's an undrafted rookie free agent. So, but you got to be better. Here, I'm going to ask you this. Mark Tobin says, what's the point of paying Muth if we're not going to use him? We should have a whole package for him. Did you hear what Coach Tomlin said about this today? Or were you?
No, I did not get to.
Because he was asked about Pat Freiermuth. He's like, we spread the ball around, and sometimes the other team dictates where that ball goes. If they're going to focus on Pat, we're going to have less focus on somebody else. And he's right. I think the prime example of that, and I've said this a couple times, is the 2 games against the Bengals last year. When Freiermuth went off in the first game, and in the second game did not. I know he didn't have a catch. I don't even think he had a target. If he did, he had 1, but didn't have a catch. And the Steelers actually had a more dynamic offense in the second game. But because they focused so much on him, that opened up things for other people. You have to take that into account. Now, what's frustrating is that there are times that you see that Freiermuth could have been open in the middle of the field, but he wasn't necessarily the first option, and that's when he happens to get open. So it's not all that other explanation. So I get it, but it's multiple things that are going on there. What do you think about the Steelers with their use of Pat Freiermuth?
Well, to me, if George Pickens isn't on the field, he's probably your next best receiver. So if George Pickens isn't on the field, where are you gonna, if there's anybody you're going to try to take out of a game, who is it? It's Pat Freiermuth.
He's the only one that's not on a rookie or minimum deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly. Yeah.
So
it
would I like to see him catching more balls? Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do agree with what Coach Tomlin says. They spread the ball around, and we get it to the guys who are open. I mean, gee whiz, I hated to see Skoranek go down yesterday because he had 2 catches for 25 yards like that.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh, the Ravens aren't going to pay much attention to him. We're going to take advantage of it.
And that was a great plan. And then he gets hurt.
Great plan. Then he gets hurt.
Yeah.
Tried to come back, just like
Yep.
Joey Porter tried to come back, but just
I'm worried about Joey Porter if he's got a knee injury that he was feeling in his calf. That's not good usually. So here we go. I'm going to bring it up now so we can dismiss it. Sorry. Steel Dog 88, $5, because he knows what we're going to say. Thanks for the $5 for the tip jar. He says, not trying to look ahead, but in other words, I'm not trying to look ahead, but hey, let's look ahead.
let's look ahead. Yeah.
As we see it right now, is Steelers' biggest need next season, wide receiver and corner.
Steel Dog, I'm going to tell you my rule of thumb is I don't start talking and looking at next season until this season is over.
I mean, think about it. We halfway through the 2017 season, were the Steelers worried about inside linebacker?
Nope.
What became their biggest need for years after that?
The inside linebacker.
Because it all can change in a moment.
So right. We could make a statement today, and after the game on Wednesday, that could totally be thrown out the window and need something different.
I'll tell you right now, you know what their biggest need is for next year? Quarterback, because they don't have one under contract.
That's correct.
That's their biggest need. So, yeah. Okay. And then Brother Man 2 says invest in offensive line for protection, which is exactly what the Steelers have been doing. They've been trying to get there. My goodness, they've thrown so many draft picks, and they've brought in, and they didn't bring in a big free agent lineman last year, but that was the first time they hadn't. They had done it with Sayamalu the year before, and with James Daniels the year before that. So they've been doing it as they bridge the gap as they get these younger guys drafted. Trust me, they're still doing the Philly blueprint, but it doesn't just all to come together right away. And it didn't help that your number 1 draft pick from this past year got hurt.
Yeah.
So you've got some other things. These, like I said, we're going to, before you know it, Steelers fans, and that's what I keep saying, yes, this stinks that the schedule's so rushed together right now because I'm like, they only have 2 regular season games and we get like no breathing room before we have another one. The Steelers they're only guaranteed 3 more games this year because they've made the playoffs. And we know how long the offseason is.
Yeah, I don't want to start.
Let's not jump the gun and start dealing with off-season things before we have to, because we're going to have to for way too long. Way too long. Way too long. So questions about what they're going to do at quarterback and these other positions, that's what I like to reserve for after the season is over, just because there's more time of off-season than there is season. So that's when we can worry about those things. All right, Rich, anything else from this game? I mean, to me, like I said, the defense struggled. I don't know if you know this yet, but last week I told you about the 17 missed tackles according to PFF stats. I've got the PFF stats from this game.
Oh, great.
How many do you think
I'm
Take a
guessing 13.
They had them at 15.
Okay. I knew it was more than a dozen because I was trying to keep track myself.
2 missed tackles in the last 2 games. 32 missed tackles in the last 2 games.
Yeah,
Rich,
that's not getting it done, defense.
Yeah,
Not
Rich,
getting it done at all.
And I'll have my article out. It won't be tomorrow because we've got lots of other stuff. We're compacting things. If it is, it would be late in the day, but probably not because we got so much other stuff. I'll probably have my PFF article out on Tuesday, even though the scores are out now. But here's what's crazy. The Steelers, and like you say, the grades are what they are. You know, the Steelers they had no players below a 50. Remember, 60, if you come out for one snap and do nothing, you get a 60. That's where they start. The Steelers only had 4 players below a 60 on offense. And the lowest one was a 52.7. And that was Scotty Miller. You know what I mean? So that was the offensive grades. The Steelers' defensive grades, they had 2 players in the 20s, 2 players in the 30s, and 5 players in the 40s. So they had 9 guys scoring below a 50 on defense and no one on offense. Now, you can take it for what it's worth because it is PFF, blah, blah, blah. But was it that far off that it was 9 to none? I don't think so. That's why, to me, it was more the defense. The defense, they've got to tackle. They've got to communicate. I mean, both touchdowns. Coach Tomlin said it today. He was very frustrated with the 2 touchdowns to the tight ends. It was a complete breakdown.
Yep.
I still can't believe there were some people ready to blame Minkah Fitzpatrick for that first one, when it was obvious that he was supposed to be coming up and there should have been someone. He had 2 guys over there. He had to worry about Derrick Henry in the flat and Isaiah Likely down the field. What's he supposed to do if no one else is there with 2 guys there?
Right. The thing was no, someone else was to be there. His assignment was Derrick Henry in the flat.
And he even hung back from it a little bit to try to make it a harder throw while someone got there, and then would have had to come up if they dump it to Henry. But it just didn't work. So
Agreed.
yeah, it's funny. Here's a question. Blackjack Novak says, how are we guaranteed a playoff game when the Broncos and Chargers have none to win? Steelers are already locked in. Why? Because the Steelers beat both the Broncos and the Chargers.
Yeah. And if the Broncos and the Chargers both win out, and you're like, and the Steelers lose out, and you're like, oh, how the Steelers? Because
then they would move ahead of the Steelers, and the Steelers
Correct.
would be the 7. You'd have to look at the next one back behind that, which is right now the Colts, who they did win today, right? So they're what? So they're 7-8, I think so. And the Dolphins won; they're 7-8. So, but they can't catch the Steelers with 2 games left. It's not possible. So even with those other ones, they could catch the Steelers and move ahead of them. But so yeah, don't look at other people that are, and you're like, but those other ones haven't locked in. You're right, they haven't locked in because if they lose, they could be caught. So yeah, that's how it all works. Rich, Anything else you want to say about this game? I hate to say it. I'm just going to give some kudos to the Ravens team again because they finally got off the schneid against the Steelers. It's the first time Lamar Jackson played the Steelers twice in a season, and he seemed a little bit more prepared for them and not overhyped by them. They didn't have a lot of penalties. They played a pretty clean game. Played one of their, to me, I think one of their better games, and the Steelers still had a chance to beat them.
If the Ravens play that good opening week against the Chiefs, they beat the Chiefs the way they just beat the Steelers.
Yeah. I can see that.
The
All right.
Ravens' defense wasn't that good at the very beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And their offense wasn't playing like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And the thing is, even based on these last two games, I still, if the Steelers had to play either one of those two teams in the playoffs, I would not say like, oh, they can't beat those teams. Nope, I wouldn't say that. Steelers very well could have and should have beat the Ravens had they not had the fumble and the pick six.
Yep.
Honestly. So, but you can't take those plays away, and that's why they lose by 17 points. So now coming into the holiday rush, coming into this compact week, going in there was an estimated injury report today. Just to give you what it was real quick, we're used to not having an injury report on a Tuesday, let alone with us going 2 days early. Of the 5 players that missed the game yesterday, the only one who was listed as not practicing, estimated was Justin Fields. The other 4, they all had them estimated as limited. Both Joey Porter Jr. and Ben Skoranek was estimated as not participating. Coach Tomlin had no new information on them because it was so fresh. The only other player that was injury-related that was listed was, they said, Tyler Metakevich with a knee wouldn't have practiced. So that's something to look at. That might be where one of those extra helmets comes from if they need to get somebody out there that they're not sure how it's all going to work out. Just for the Chiefs, the biggest one for them is they wouldn't have had Chris Jones wouldn't have practiced. There's a decent chance he's not playing after 4 days.
Yeah, when I saw that play, I was like, I don't know that we'll see him on Christmas Day.
I'll be honest with you.
Put it this way. If I were the Chiefs, I don't know that I would risk him.
Okay.
When you're 14-1, would you want to risk that guy out there hobbly?
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is how I look at it. I'm going to come back to what I think the Chiefs should do. But first, I will say this: right now, if only one of them was going to play at cornerback, I would give more to Dante Jackson than to Joey Porter, just because I really don't know what's up with that knee. So we'll see. Back to what the Chiefs should do. I mentioned this. Man, when the Patriots jumped out to a 14-point lead, I was like, if they can knock off the Bills, then the Chiefs had the number 1 seed locked up. If I'm the Chiefs, even without the number 1 seed being locked up, you're 14-1. This is what I would do. Does it do you any good to rest your players in week 18 after they will be coming off 10 or 11 days rest and then are also going to get 14 days off with a bye? I think it would be foolish for them to rest their players in week 18 and have them go basically 25 days without playing a game. Thoughts?
Agreed.
Yeah.
And they don't like playing this short stuff. So if I had guys who were dinged right now and I'm Kansas City, I'm questioning how much, if at all, some of those guys see the field.
Because think about it. You're like, what would be best for our players? Okay. What would be best for their players? No joke. And Jim Wex is the one who put this in my brain. He put it out there. He says, well, first of all, we would give the Chiefs to give a great big, flip them the double bird and say, forget you, NFL. We're, no, we're not dealing with this crappy schedule. We're not doing this to our players. We are not doing this. This is not what's best for them to be able to go out there and perform. That they would say, we're going to put all our eggs in the basket of winning at Denver in week 18. And in order to win in Denver,
And,
a team we're
and
very
that's
familiar
and that's
with,
and that's going to be giving those guys this time off. The rest of the team get the extra mini bye, get everybody healthy, because then that is our tune-up game
yeah.
for the playoffs.
And you're still going to have 2 weeks off to rest then.
Correct.
So why risk someone who could then be out for 3 to 4 weeks by playing them on such a short week on a freaking Wednesday, when you could say, you know what? Let's just not even care because the NFL did this stupid thing. Let's just say, no, we're not doing it. We're going to play our team from the bottom up, not from the top down. And if we manage to still win it, great. And if not, you know what? Our main guys will be very rested. Everyone else will be pretty rested. And we'll go in there and we'll take it to Denver the last week towards our last tune-up. And if we can't beat Denver in Denver the last week of the season after all that rest, then maybe we don't want to buy and then get one of the best 3 other teams in the AFC as our first playoff game. Maybe we'd like a different tune-up the next week if we can't tune them up here. Honestly, anymore, the bye is great for rest, but the bye or to get injured players healthy, but it is bad for rust because you're playing such a high quality opponent. There, I mean, I've said it to guys. My goodness, playing our slow pitch softball. I'm like, sometimes the bye's not good. Sometimes then you're getting a better team that already has a warm up game ready to come play you being cold. Sometimes I'd rather be the first team to not get a bye and have to play the worst team out there because that gives you a better thing there. So either way, you're talking about a quote unquote tune-up game for them and not risk injury. I would highly consider it just because it's unorthodox. I just don't know that they'll actually do it. So I would love to see them do that just the NFL. But also watch this. How many times have we seen teams rest players and then still get victories?
Yep.
So, yeah. So I would not. Chiefs have to be looking big picture right now. And the importance of winning this game on Wednesday is not nearly important as making sure that everyone's good to go for the postseason. It is what it is. So what do you think about this game coming up now, Rich? It's hard to really get into it because you don't know. I mean, my goodness, there's a whole list of starters for the Steelers. Still don't get it. Well, still wonders how bad the buffering will be on Netflix. So I don't know.
I won't have that problem
Because you get KDKA.
because I will get the game locally because
Yeah.
I am in the realm.
Yes. Me,
will say.
I can get the game on NFL Plus Premium, but only on a mobile device. So I can watch it on my tablet. The only question is, do I want to have Netflix to then watch it on my television? And that's going to depend on if anyone else is here watching the game with me or not. So I can watch it by myself on my tablet. So I might be doing the whole $6.99 for 1 month of Netflix just to watch that game. But see, that's a whole other thing that frustrates me. Rich, are you as down on the Steelers' chances to win this game, even against a healthy Kansas City Chiefs team, as some people were right after the game?
I don't want to say that I have huge confidence, but I don't want to say I have no confidence.
How big is it that this game is at home?
Huge.
Absolutely huge, in my opinion.
Huge, in my opinion, that the game is.
If they were on the road, I would just be so ticked and feel like I'm just stuck. Because that's the thing with the Chiefs. Not only did the NFL do this to them in a short week, they made them go on the road for it.
Yeah.
I'd leave Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, just about it. I'd leave him. I'd tell him, hey, go enjoy Christmas with your family. You're not even coming to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Forget you, NFL. Like the Steelers did when they left Roethlisberger and Hayward and Watt and all those guys in Pittsburgh to play Cleveland the last game of the season in 2020.
Yep.
So that would be. That's because of all the COVID protocols and everything. It was just better to do that. But that would be interesting. I I think the Steelers do get an advantage of being at home. Home teams get such a big advantage on short weeks. So the question is,
which is why you see the Steelers, Ravens, and Browns do so well on Thursday night when they play at home.
and do so poorly when they're on the road.
Yep.
Steelers can't win at Cleveland on Thursday nights on the road, but the Steelers rarely lose it. The only time the Steelers, well, not the only time, I think they've lost 2 Thursday night games since 2013 at home, and the one was the Scobie debacle,
Yeah.
where they had like a 99.7% chance to win that game with 2 minutes left, and they blew it. So, yeah, it's just it's frustrating, but the Kansas City Chiefs have shown, and it's funny because Coach Tomlin said this today as well. He said they're like, oh well, the Chiefs have won a lot of close games and everything, and they haven't been as dominant in games as they have been. And Coach Tomlin's like, how dominant do you have to be 14-1? They're 14-1, and you're going to complain that they're not winning by enough or winning easily enough. And to me, that speaks a lot about how we even are Steelers fans. It's right. So it'll be interesting of how it all plays out. But I will tell you this: I'm glad that the Steelers are not fighting for a playoff spot when they went into this tough stretch.
Yes.
I'm glad that what they're fighting for is the AFC North.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to tell me, seriously, Rich, if you were to tell me in August or before that the Pittsburgh Steelers would control their own destiny of winning the AFC North with 2 games to go, what would you have said?
I'd have thought that was pretty cool because everybody else had them in the basement.
I know. So the thing is, I'm still happy with how the season gone overall. I just wish they were trending in the right direction. Kind of like I said, how Baltimore's defense was trending in the right direction. But I felt that the offense was so much better this last game than it was the game before.
Yeah.
I felt that the play calling was better this last game than it was the game before.
I agree.
Not that it was top notch, but it was much
Better.
Improved.
Yep.
So I feel like the offense, now all you got to do is take care of the friggin' football. And you make that improvement. And I think the offense is going in the right direction. If they come out here and have a good offensive showing and don't turn the ball over a bunch, costly turnovers, I guess I should say, and really give the Chiefs a game, and then they get that rest. I mean, that's one thing I do have to say. I talk about the Ravens luck out with having that late bye. This mini bye on the going into the last game of the season could really, really help the Steelers. So, Rich, you ready to we've gone over, but of course we always do. You ready to give us your prediction for this game, even though it's barely 24 hours since the last one? I haven't really had a lot of time to think about it. For those of you that might be new, because we're on a Sunday night, I'm just going to tell you, don't put your score prediction in yet. We will let everyone bring up their score prediction and put it in there. We will read them all, but you have to wait for me to ask for them. I will say it, and I will put it out there in the chat. So, Rich, what are you thinking?
Okay. First, I'll give my satirical. I will go full satire here. I wish Kyle was here to hear this because Kyle likes this dude on Instagram or wherever. One of those things is. Have you seen the guy, the fake Napoleon Dynamite guy?
I have not.
Well,
I don't have Instagram.
he's from Pittsburgh, and so right now he would go out and throw the ball around in his backyard, and then with his referee shirt on would blow the whistle, throw the yellow flag, and say personal foul on Pittsburgh for violating Patrick Mahomes' personal bubble. Mm-hmm. Chiefs win $50 million to nothing. Because all right.
I've seen where the ones have dubbed over the officials about with calls of the games, and they're like, it was a pre-snap penalty, but there's already pass interference down the field. All hail the great Patrick Mahomes.
Yes,
if you've seen those
I've seen those too.
Yeah.
So you throw that little bit of I don't even know what you call all that on it as well. It makes it tough. Still makes it tough to pull for the Steelers, although it's a home game. it's one where I'm going to go, 23-20 Chiefs, but honestly, it's one I could actually see as like 26-18 Steelers just as easily
Yeah.
because of the short week playing at home on the holiday kind of thing. I think favors the Steelers, but in the end, because of just where things have been trending with the Steelers and how I tend to be as a, hey, I'm gonna call it the way I see it until you show me otherwise. I'm gonna go Chiefs 23-20.
See, to me, I'm going to say that I think being at home levels the playing field. Of you're playing a 14-1 team that's two-time Super Bowl champions, but the Steelers have them at home on a short week. To me, those things cancel out. So it really is all about who's going to play better on the field. It really comes down to their play. And I'm also going to say this, as I'm now saying, go ahead and enter your scores in there, and we'll get them read out here. I'm going to say this. I think it's going to be extremely difficult to pick a score on the preview on Tuesday because we're going around lunchtime and we're still not going to have a final injury report and a final status report and any roster, all that stuff. Even then, I think that's the night before. I mean, it's going to be the night before Christmas and all through the Berg. We're going to try to figure out who the crap's playing in this game and who's going to be 100% and have a better idea of how we feel about it. Honestly. I mean, it's probably going to be Tuesday night before I even start to get a more realistic feel for what it's going to be. So, no Chris Jones could be a really big deal.
It could be
a really big deal.
So
George Pickens coming back could be a really big deal. If my goodness, if you have both Dante Jackson and Joey Porter
and Deshaun
Elliott, that's a really big deal. That's a really big deal. I mean, think about it. The Steelers were down 3/4 of their starters in the secondary and a starter. They were down 4 starters on the defense when Joey Porter went out. 4. And your most dynamic offensive weapon. Here we go. Acton Ford says 24-10 KC. Brian Brown says 36-35 Steelers. Boz hits 12 this time. I don't remember. He says Boz hits 12. Okay, Merry Christmas, everybody. I'm going to remind people before I know some of you start putting your scores out there. The Chiefs have not scored over 30 points all season. If they do that on Christmas, then you can throw me in with the people that are going to go nutso in the live chat after the game, because that's just not been the style of play for the Chiefs this year. That meant the Steelers royally screwed it up. All right, Steel Dog 88 says 22-17 Steelers. They need the bounce back. Thomas Riley, you're so loyal, Thomas. Thank you. Steelers 19, Chiefs 19. What happens if it's a tie? See, last week, if it would have been a tie with the Ravens, the Steelers still would have won the AFC North. This being a tie, that changes a lot. It would put them a half game behind if the Ravens win later in the day. But the Ravens are up against it on a short week, having to go on the road to Houston, who really was giving Kansas City a game until that bad injury on the touchdown. This is kind of where things, I mean, my goodness, they missed the extra point after that. That kind of fell apart. Thomas Potts says 38-16 Chiefs. Once again, I'd be really surprised if they got to that total. Dion Eaton says 27-20 Steelers. Kathy Ford says 27-23. That would be Steelers. Blackjack Novak says 27-20 KC. See, no, that's a score that I could see. That one's really, and along with Dion's, which is 27-20 the other way for the Steelers. I could see that going either way. Joseph Donovan says Steelers 35-27. Okay, if they put up 35 on that Chiefs defense, that would be really great as well. Claude Bishop says 30-17 Chiefs. I can see him getting exactly 30 again. Mean Green. There's so many of these that make sense. Mean Green says 28-21 Steelers. Demetrios M says 27-20 Bad Guys. Okay. A lot of people asking about players. How can we possibly know if these guys are really going to play? All I know was that Mike Tomlin said they have a real chance on all 5 of those. But obviously out of the 5, the one that probably has the least chance is Justin Fields because they ruled him not practicing estimated today, where the rest of them were limited. Here we go. I'm trying to get the thing. Tyler W. 26-24 on a Boz field goal because the Steelers are more naughty than nice. Here we go. Nico Monez, is that right? I don't know. Steelers 34, Chiefs 24. Whew, I would love it. Not banking on it, but I love it. Verge has 24-23 KC. It'd make for an exciting Christmas Day game, that's for sure. Mr. Woodside says 23-20 Steelers. And I think that's it. That's all we got so far. So, Rich, we're over. I already gave the rundown of what our podcast are going to look like leading up through the next game because of the compressed schedule. It's just the nature of the beast. I don't know if I said this or not. Like, I'll be doing last minute thoughts like Tuesday evening, probably right after 4:00 is when I'll do it. Maybe even earlier than that. It might be that early because nothing's going to change between them and the next morning. And we're going to run it then because the next morning is Wednesday and it's also Let's Ride. So you're going to have those kind of things available for that. Rich, it was weird being here on a Sunday, but we had to do what we had to do. Oh, it's funny because Nico says, my score, that's if George Pickens plays. I said it going into the Eagles game. If the Steelers could find a way to improve their passing game, not improve, but still get by with their passing game without George Pickens, that would go a long way. I feel they made some good strides in this past game. So I think now adding George Pickens back to it is just going to make them stronger. We'll see if it pays off. Brother Man wants to know when the post game is going to be. I'll be honest with you, the post game might usually it's after the Mike Tomlin press conference. It might be a little bit earlier this time. It might be that we divide and conquer, and the guys that are going to do the post game shows so they can do it and get back to their families for Christmas, they might go pretty much as soon as, not very long after the clock reaches 000. So be ready for it. It could be sooner than normal because we're trying to make sure everyone can get back with their families. So hopefully that answers questions with how the schedule is going to go. Make sure you're still checking out SteelCurtainNetwork.com. We're told that our facelift was, we're like, well, are we going to get it by the playoffs? Yes.
Playoffs?
Yes. Exactly, as I'm trying to find. There it
Playoffs.
is. Okay, there it is. And the answer we were told is it should be here by the playoffs. We were also told it should be here at the beginning of October, and we're still waiting. So we don't think they've realized how many articles we've published since we first started this new website that they have to go backload into the system. So that's part of it. So hope you all, Rich, I won't physically see you again until afterwards. Please have a very Merry Christmas. For those of you in the live chat, if you're not with us on Tuesday, but I want to say the same to you all as well. Merry Christmas. Enjoy the holiday. Hopefully the Steelers give us a reason to enjoy the holiday. Rich, what do you have to say to close us out tonight?
All right. I hate football that's not on Sundays, but I'll be watching football on Wednesday. However, I will be not donning a bunch of Steelers gear to watch the football game in. Why? Because Christmas is made for Christmas PJs.
Yes, it is.
I will wear probably a hat. That'll be it, because I'll be wearing the Christmas PJs.
Oh,
so
I hate to interrupt, but I have to say
Sorry.
this. The one exception is if you get new Steelers gear for Christmas. If I get something new Steelers, I'll throw that on the Christmas PJs as well.
yeah, I don't think I'm getting any Steelers gear. So,
Don't tell my wife she can wear her new Chris Boswell jersey.
okay.
Go ahead.
I won't tell her. I'm going to spend a lot of time on my couch on Wednesday.
Yes.
I just thought of that because I will spend all of Christmas morning there, then watch the Steeler game. Then when the game finally hits zeros, then I'll finally be off the couch. So, I'm going to be on my couch pretty much from about 8 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's going to be about 8 hours straight. I will get up for bathroom breaks. So
That's good to know.
and to, refill my coffee cup. So, look, there's just a lot of unknowns with this game. And because of the timing of this game, so many variables that we're not even used to talking about or dealing with. So really, the game's going to be a crapshoot. It is. In the end, I hope Santa brings me a Steelers win for Christmas. Can't wait.
You gotta just chill out, man.
Can't wait.